It's time for stretch goals. I've been promising you talk about stretch goals since the budget section, and the time is now. The reason I haven't talked about it till now is because the stretch goals are part budget tool and part marketing tool, and so they fit in a little bit better here because the budget for stretch goal is going to be a little bit flexible according to how your project is doing, which we don't know until now. So let's talk about it. When should you add stretch goals? When should you calculate your stretch goals? I believe you should post your stretch goals once and not before your project funds. Why? Because once your project funds, you can know how quickly your project is funding and you can adjust your numbers accordingly. And also, you won't seem too big for your britches. So here are two possible scenarios. You ask for $6,000 and your project funds immediately, like within 2 hours. If you had posted your stretch goals already and your stretch goals were like at 7,000, 8,000, and 9,000, maybe you would fund all of them in one day and you are out of stretch goals and now you have to come up with like new stuff to do or just not have any stretch goals to look forward to. So that's one scenario, and that's kind of a bummer. The other scenario is you ask for $6,000 and on the first day you make 1,000, and you had already posted your stretch goals up to $15,000, and it looks kind of like you think that you were going to make $10,000 on your first day because you thought $15,000 was a super realistic amount of money to ask for. So, and your audience is like, oh boy, this person really didn't know what they were doing. So I think both of those scenarios are not ideal. Possibly you make $4,000 on day one, ideally, and stretch goals look fine and it's not a big deal. But because of both of those worst case, I'm always too paranoid to post stretch goals before you fund. So that's why I say don't post your stretch goals before you fund. So what should you add on your stretch goals? A mix of the nice to haves that we created that list of in your budget unit. And then free or experiential goals. So those nice to haves, like I want this thing to make my creative project better. And then some things that you can do for free or that are free experiences that can just kind of pad out in between those things. Distance of goals. I think the goals should be at levels that you can hit every 3 to 5 days. And that they should go up to 200% of whatever you reach on day one or your goal, whatever is higher. And then make a nice graphic for it, throw it up at the top of the page so that when people get to your page, they know that there are stretch goals. And talk about it in your about section. You should be updating the main page and add the information about the stretch goals on there. What makes a good stretch goal? So give the audience something punchy and fun to be excited for. Here are some examples. Everybody gets a sticker, so the product is better in some way and everybody gets something. That's awesome. Stacy will quit her day job or get a tattoo. So this is something where the audience doesn't get something necessarily, but they get to be part of something exciting. Or we will cover Freebird. So this is large and silly and maybe related to something the audience already is like an in joke. So these are good stretch goals that aren't necessarily part of the creative project that might be good and inexpensive things to pad out the creative project thing. Because as exciting as you may think, we get to hire a more expensive mastering engineer, or I get to add, embossing on the cover, or whatever technical thing that you are really looking forward to, it may not be as exciting to your audience, as it is to you. So some slightly sexier stuff that is realistic but also does not require a lot of work is fun to throw in between to pad out your stretch goals and make them more experiential and fun for your audience. Make some that are free to put in between the expensive ones, and keep this in mind. You can't just add $1,000 if the goal is going to cost $1,000. There are fees, rewards, and other costs to account for. Let's look at an example. So if you have an $8,000 Kickstarter goal for your album, and your nice to haves are a $500 to hire a violinist and $800 to hire a drummer to make the album better. Your stretch goals would look like this. So at $9,000, we will record an a cappella YouTube version of our best song. And that'll be something we can do in a day. We'll just set up a video camera and just sing it. So that would be free to produce. At $10,000, we'll hire the violinist. Okay, so we've actually added $2,000 onto our goal for a $500 project. At $11,000, we'll do a Facebook Live album release show just from our house, and that's free to produce. And at $12,000, we'll hire the drummer. So we've added $4,000 of gross income to go from $8,000 to $12,000. The reward fee cost estimate, so if we are paying for rewards and fees and all of that, say that at maximum that might cost $2,000 if we're going up at $4,000 of income, and the stretch goal cost is $1,200. So we're not going to lose money with these stretch goals. So keep that in mind. Add those stretch goals to your flat costs on your reward spreadsheet and do some of your magic math, and do not lose money on your stretch goals. Here's a note about stretch goals. First of all, stretch goals are optional. You do not have to do them. Even if your project funds on day one, you can just say, hooray, let's let the audience keep backing the project. They're excited. They want to pre-order my stuff. They want to support my film. They want this to happen. It will keep growing. Honestly, if the project is already funded, it will keep growing. Whether or not you post stretch goals might make it more exciting. That might build the project more. It will build the project more, but it won't build it like super more. Like if people were going to back the project, they're probably still going to back the project. If you're already making the thing you want, you can stop. You don't have to just add stretch goals because it's exciting to get more money. You can stop right now. And stretch goals can be very tricky. Don't sign yourself up for work that will delay your project. So often I find my clients saying, okay, oh man, we funded an album. Now we can add an EP. Oh, we funded a novel. Now I'll add a novella. I'll add an extra story. Folks, you've already funded a creative project. You already have to make something. Don't add another amount of work for yourself. That takes time, and you're not making that much more money. So please don't add another creative project that is going to take more than like a day on top of your project. You don't need to. Your audience, it's really not going to motivate your audience that much more. Trust me, you don't need to add those creative things on top. Save that. Do another crowdfund for that later. Don't sign yourself up to create a whole new thing. And remember your mission statement, okay? All of this needs to fall under that mission statement. Don't sign yourself up for something that's under a completely different mission statement. Stretch goals are not for that. Stretch goals are just to enhance the initial mission statement. Stretch goals can be a trap. They for sure can be a trap. And they can be a way to lose money, to delay your project, to make your project never ever deliver. That happens so much more often than you think. To make it so that if you never deliver a stretch goal, you feel like you can't launch your next project. It makes it stretch out your delivery time. I would much rather you not do any stretch goals at all than signing yourself up for a stretch goal that's going to lengthen the time it takes to deliver your project. So I know it's tempting to ask for more money because more money seems good, but try to limit the amount of work that you have to do. And that is the end of our stretch goal unit. See you in the next video.